The message is clear.
I'll be seeing you very soon.
I have been waiting eagerly for Warner Bros.' audacious $140 million project, one battle after another. And now that the movie is finally here, trust me, this one's a wild ride from start to finish. If you haven't seen it yet, massive spoiler warning ahead, so maybe bookmark this video and come back after you've experienced this madness yourself. Paul Thomas Anderson, the 11-time Oscar-nominated filmmaker, has perfected this perfect dark comedy and satirical adventure. And in this video, I will break down the movie in detail. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Weapon, man, all you got is goddamn nunchucks here. You know where I can get a gun?
How does the movie set up a unique premise? So let me paint you the picture of this crazy world Anderson has created. We open with this revolutionary group called the French 75. And yeah, they're named after a cocktail, which already tells you this movie has a sense of humour. These aren't your typical protesters with signs. These folks are full on breaking into immigrant detention centres at the Mexican border, holding guards at gunpoint, and literally freeing over 100 people in one night. It's like if the Weather Underground had a baby with an action movie. The leader of this group is Perfidia Beverly Hills, played absolutely brilliantly by Tiana Taylor, and she's this fierce, uncompromising revolutionary who comes from a long line of black revolutionaries. Her partner is Bob Ferguson, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who's basically the group's bomb maker. And let me tell you, DiCaprio is playing against type here as this scruffy, paranoid stoner who spends his days watching the Battle of Algiers while getting high. But here's where things get really twisted. There's this army officer, Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn in what might be his most unhinged performance ever. This guy becomes obsessed with Perfidia after she humiliates him during one of their raids. He is seriously obsessed with her to the point where it's both terrifying and darkly comedic. Penn plays him as this uptight military fascist who's also secretly turned on by being dominated, which creates this really disturbing psychosexual dynamic. The French 75 keeps pulling off these operations, robbing banks, bombing government buildings, you name it. During one of these violent acts involving Perfidia, Colonel Lockjaw catches her, but lets her go free after she agrees to have a sexual encounter at a motel. She even has a daughter after a while, but the unnormal family life eludes her. Freedom is short-lived, and everything goes sideways during a bank robbery where Perfidia kills a guard. That becomes the point of no return for the group. Soon after, Perfidia gets arrested, and here's the kicker. She cuts a deal to betray her revolutionary friends in exchange for witness protection. She breaks free from captivity and flees to Mexico, abandoning her newborn daughter and family. The film then jumps 16 years into the future, and this is where the heart of the story really begins. Bob is now living under a new identity as a single dad, raising this teenage daughter Willa, played by newcomer Chase Infinity, who is absolutely phenomenal. Bob's told Willa that her mother died heroically for the cause, when in reality, Perfidia basically abandoned them. Bob's paranoid, drug-addled, and constantly worried about their past catching up to them, but he's also this really loving, protective father. Willa's got that same revolutionary spirit as her mother, but she's frustrated with Bob's paranoia and his refusal to let her have a normal teenage life. Like seriously, the man won't even let her have a cell phone. She's smart, she's passionate about social justice, and she can see right through the BS of the older generation. But then Lockjaw resurfaces after all these years. He's trying to join this secret white supremacist organisation called the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is basically like an upscale KKK. To get in, he needs to clean up his past, which means eliminating any evidence of his relationship with Perfidia, including potentially killing Willa. What follows is this intense cat and mouse game where Bob has to reconnect with the underground network of the French 75 to protect his daughter. There's Sergio St. Carlos, played by Benicio del Toro, who's now running a modern underground railroad for immigrants. There's Deandra, played by Regina Hall, who helps extract Willa from danger. The whole thing becomes this sprawling chase across the American Southwest, with with Bob trying to remember passwords and protocols from a revolutionary life he's tried to forget. The film brilliantly weaves together themes of family, political resistance, and the cyclical nature of American violence. Anderson isn't just making an action movie. He's using this genre framework to explore how systemic oppression perpetuates itself, how revolutionary movements can both inspire and destroy, and ultimately how love and family can be the most radical acts of all. Can Bob reunite with her daughter as Lockjaw hunts them down? Ending explained. Alright, let's break down that absolutely wild climax because there's a lot happening in the final act of this movie. So we've got Willa being held at this mission church where Deandra thought she'd be safe, but Lockjaw and his military goons storm the place. This is where we get the big DNA revelation. Lockjaw administers a paternity test right there in the church and confirms what we've suspected. He's actually Willa's biological father, not Bob. But here's the thing that makes this moment so powerful. Willa doesn't care. She looks at this racist, fascist colonel who contributed his DNA and basically tells him that Bob is her real father. Lockjaw, desperate to hide his race mixing from the Christmas Adventurers Club, hands Willa over to this bounty hunter named Avanti, played by Eric Schwig. Avanti's supposed to deliver her to a white supremacist militia outpost where they'll kill her and dispose of the evidence. But here's where the film shows us that even in this dark world, people can choose to do the right thing. Avanti has a change of heart and fights the militia to help Willa escape, dying in the process. Meanwhile, Tim, who's a member of the Christmas Adventurers Club, discovers Lockjaw's secret and decides to eliminate both him and Willa to protect their organization's reputation. He shoots Lockjaw in the face, and here's where it gets crazy. Lockjaw somehow survives this gunshot. He ends up with a messed up face, and he is welcomed into the Christmas adventures only to be gassed to death later. In a darkly ironic twist, he is killed by the very people he was trying to impress all along. Bob finally catches up and finds Willa, and their reunion is genuinely emotional. After all the chaos and violence, it comes down to this father and daughter who found each other again. The film ends with Bob giving Willa a letter from Perfidia, her mother, who apologizes for her cowardice and expresses hope that they'll reunite someday. It's this bittersweet moment that acknowledges the pain of abandonment while also offering hope for healing. Then comes the final scene that really drives home the film's message. Willa hears about protests happening in Oakland on the radio, and without hesitation, she gets in the car to join them. The revolutionary spirit lives on, but it's not the same violent radicalism of the previous generation. Willa represents a new kind of resistance, one that's more strategic, more inclusive, and ultimately more hopeful. Meanwhile, Bob learnt to let go, and he is no longer anxious about his daughter's future. Marvelous verdict, a dark and daring masterpiece. I don't know if you will agree to this, but I feel that this movie is absolutely Paul Thomas Anderson's most accessible film since Boogie Nights, and it is also probably his most impactful work. This thing clocks in at nearly 3 hours, but honestly, it flies by because Anderson keeps the energy at this fever pitch throughout. What I love most about this film is how it manages to be both a crowd-pleasing action thriller and a serious political statement without ever feeling preachy or heavy-handed. Like, there are moments where I was laughing out loud at the absurdity of certain situations, and then 5 minutes later, I'm genuinely moved by the father-daughter relationship at the film's core. That's masterful filmmaking right there. The performances across the board are just phenomenal. DiCaprio completely disappears into this role. He's playing this washed-up, paranoid stoner, but he brings such humanity and heart to Bob that you can't help but root for him. Sean Penn is genuinely terrifying as Lockjaw, creating this character who's both pathetic and dangerous. And Chase Infinity as Willa is a real discovery. She holds her own against these seasoned actors and gives the film its emotional anchor. But what really elevates this movie is how relevant it feels to our current moment without ever feeling like Anderson is hitting you over the head with his politics. This is a film about American violence, about systemic oppression, about the ways that resistance movements can both inspire and corrupt, and it all feels incredibly timely. The fact that it's getting a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes reviews tells you that critics are recognizing this as something special. If I had any criticism, it might be that some of the middle section drags slightly when Bob is trying to reconnect with the underground network, but honestly, that's a minor quibble with what's otherwise a masterpiece of American cinema. This is Paul Thomas Anderson firing on all cylinders, making his most entertaining film while also delivering his most politically charged message. It's the kind of movie that reminds you why cinema matters, and I have a feeling we're going to be talking about it for years to come. So that's my take on One Battle After Another. Definitely check it out if you haven't already, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did the ending hit you the same way? What did you think of Anderson's vision of America? And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.